So good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. So today we will cover the remaining part of the management of the cancer breast. In the last lecture, we discussed in the management of cancer breast. We discussed the first of all that the treatment is multimodality, means single modality is not sufficient. So we have to use multiple modalities. That is surgery, radiotherapy, uh, and then systemic therapy. In the system therapy, chemotherapy, hormone therapy, targeted therapy. So in the last lecture, we covered this surgery in detail. Now let us discuss the remaining part of the management, that is the radiotherapy and the systemic therapy. So radiotherapy is a cancer treatment that uses high doses of ionizing radiations to kill the cancer cells. So these ionizing radiations, they damage and kill the cancer cells by causing the double-stranded breaks in the nuclear DNA. And the radiation particles which are used in radiotherapy are photons, electrons, protons, neutrons, cyclotrons. But mostly the particles used in radiotherapy are photons. So what are these photons? Photons are X-rays or gamma rays. Now the term X-rays is used to describe the radiation that is produced by the machines. For example, this low doses X-rays are used for diagnostic purpose, but high doses X-rays, they are used for the radiotherapy to treat the cancers. Whereas gamma rays, these are the radiations produced by the radioactive isotopes. So X-ray source for this radiotherapy is linear accelerator. Here in our institutions, we are also having a linear accelerator in the Department of Radiotherapy. Gamma rays, they are produced from the isotopes. Cobalt 60 is the commonly used source for radiotherapy for gamma rays. So both X-rays, gamma rays, they are the same, but name is based upon the source. If machines, that is X-rays. If that isotope, that is gamma rays. In the previous lecture, we have discussed that radiotherapy, it reduces the local recurrence significantly, and it also improves the overall survival. So radiotherapy is used in all the cases of breast conserving surgery as well as after modified radical mastectomy. Now, radiotherapy is used in all the patients of breast conserving surgery. So how to use this? Where it is used? Whole breast radiotherapy. So radiotherapy is to be given to the whole breast as well as with a booster to the tumor bed. And apart from the this breast, radiotherapy is also given to the infraclavicular region, supraclavicular region, internal memory region, axillary region, if there are 4 lymph nodes or more than 4 lymph nodes, or if number of lymph nodes is 1 to 3, even then if the patient is of high risk of recurrence. So what is this high risk of recurrence? These are the patients with the high histological grade tumor, or if it is triple negative or lymphovascular invasion. So all those risk factors we have discussed in the previous lecture, which tell about the prognosis or local recurrence. And the dose of the radiotherapy is 50 gray in 25 fractions. So regimen is often that 2 gray per day and 5 days in a week. So total 50 gray is completed in 5 weeks. Now radiotherapy after this modified radical mastectomy is given if 4 or more than 4 lymph nodes are positive, or 1 to 3 lymph nodes. But again, if that patient is of high risk of recurrence, means lymphovascular invasion or high grade tumor, um, then if the size of the tumor is more than 5 centimeter, and then if there are positive surgical margins or triple negative, so these are the cases after modified radical mastectomy, radiotherapy is used. Now, after MRM, the modified radical mastectomy, radiotherapy is used to the chest wall, infraclavicular region, supraclavicular region, internal memory and axillary regions. And dose is again same 50 gray to be completed in 5 weeks. Now coming to the systemic therapy, so systemic therapy is used in all the cases irrespective of the size of the tumor. If the size of the tumor is even 1 centimeter, or lymph nodes are there or not, they are not, or if there is metastasis or no metastasis, systemic therapy has a definite role. And in early breast cancer, this is given to eradicate the breast cancer cells at the primary site as well as micrometastasis in the circulation, because cancer breast is considered as a systemic disease from very beginning. Even if the size of the tumor is just 1 centimeter or even smaller than that, it has been seen that cancer cells are already circulating in the circulation. And in most of the cases, this systemic therapy may not cure the disease, but it significantly reduces the relapses and increases the overall survival. So in early breast cancer, locally advanced breast cancer, chemotherapy has a definite role to decrease the recurrences and to increase the overall survival. And in stage 4, systemic therapy is given as a palliative therapy to palliate the symptoms or to improve the overall prolong the life of the patient. So different modalities in systemic therapy are the chemotherapy, endocrine therapy, and targeted therapy when HER2 overexpression or amplification is there. Now coming to the chemotherapy. So these chemotherapeutic agents, these are the cytotoxic drugs which act on the dividing cells. And these dividing cells may be of cancer cells which are dividing fast, or even they act on the normal dividing cells of the body. So normal dividing cells in the body, they are the bone marrow, then hair follicles, gastrointestinal epithelium, which keeps on growing again and again, then gonadal cells. In bone marrow, this chemotherapy will cause leukopenia, anemia, thrombocytopenia. So when there is leukopenia, patient is prone to get infections or sepsis syndrome. So chemotherapy also sometimes, not sometimes, but commonly it causes severe vomiting, and this is because of the stimulation of the chemoreceptor trigger zone in the brain by these chemotherapeutic drugs. Another thing is that the chemotherapy is given in cycles. Means dose, so daily dose is not given for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks continuously, but it is given in cycles after an interval of 3 to 4 weeks. And the reason for this is that after a gap of 3 to 4 weeks, the cancer cells start dividing again, and we know that this chemotherapy acts on the dividing cells. So we give it time to so that these cancer cells after the first dose again start dividing, and at the same time this chemotherapy acts in different stages of the cell cycle. And this idea behind this chemotherapy to be given in cycles is that the chemotherapy also damages the normal dividing cells. So this period of 3 to 4 weeks, it gives time of recovery for the normal cells. That is this bone marrow suppression is there after chemotherapy, so it comes to normal, and then GIT cells, so they regrow. So this is the idea of giving the chemotherapy in cycles. Another important thing is that the chemotherapy is given as combination chemotherapy. So combination chemotherapy means more than one drugs are combined together. The reason for this is that the different drugs, they have different mode of actions, and they act at different stages of cell cycle. So we can combine the drugs in such a way that which have different mode of actions, and we can also combine the drugs in such a way that two drugs are not having the same side effects. So by using this combination chemotherapy, we can get more killing of cells, and there is a decrease in the drug resistance. So that is the idea behind of this giving combination chemotherapy. Now coming to the chemotherapy in breast cancer, chemotherapy can be adjuvant chemotherapy, that is given after surgery. For example, it is given after a breast conserving surgery, after a modified radical mastectomy. Another is neoadjuvant chemotherapy. Here, chemotherapy is administered before surgery to downstage the tumor. For example, in locally advanced breast cancer, when the tumor is inoperable, or in locally advanced breast cancer when tumor is operable, but patient wants breast conserving surgery, even then we give the neoadjuvant chemotherapy. And then of course, chemotherapy has a role in metastatic cancer also, as a palliative chemotherapy. Adjuvant chemotherapy after surgery is administered after 4 to 6 weeks after surgery, because this period is given for the wound healing. So now various studies have, in last lecture also we discussed that various these clinical trials, they have established that there is a definite role of chemotherapy in early locally advanced as well as metastatic this breast cancer. So chemotherapy is to be given in all patients. Various chemotherapeutic agents used in cancer breast are anthracyclines, that is doxorubicin, daunorubicin, epirubicin. Then another drugs, taxanes, paclitaxel, docetaxel. Then is cyclophosphamide, 5-fluorouracil, methotrexate, and platinum agents. Anthracyclines, they are derived from the Streptomyces bacterium, and they damage the cancer cells by multiple pathways, that is inhibiting the DNA RNA synthesis by intercalation, then blocking the action of the topoisomerase 2 enzyme, and also by generating free oxygen radicals. So all these mechanisms, they kill the cancer cells. The main side effect of the anthracyclines is cardiotoxicity. Taxanes, these are the compounds which are derived from the juice plants, and they act on the cancer cells by inhibiting the mitosis. The main side effect is peripheral neuropathy. Cyclophosphamide, they are the alkylating agents, and they interfere with the DNA replications. And the main side effects, they are myelin leukemia, bladder cancer, hemorrhagic cystitis, infertility. 5-fluorouracil, this is the antimetabolite, and the side effect is they act on the gastrointestinal epithelium, so mucositis, diarrhea. Methotrexate again is antimetabolite, so side effects are same as that of previous. Now platinum agents, um, the side effects are nephrotoxicity, neurotoxicity, urotoxicity. So these all chemotherapeutic agents, they have a lot of side effects. Now these are the common regimens used in cancer breast, because this chemotherapy is given in, as a combination chemotherapy and in cycles. Now here you can see that dose is given as per the body surface area, but not as per the body weight. So reason is this, that see, there is a strong relationship between the body size and the physiological function of the body. For example, cardiac output, total blood volume, glomerular filtration rate. So there is a relationship between the body surface area and the physiological functions of the body. So that is why this chemotherapy is given as per the body surface area, but not as per the body weight. And various common regimens, CNF, CF. So you can go through this common. Now here, now coming to the hormone therapy. So 80% of the breast cancer, they are the estrogen receptors or progesterone receptor positive, and they respond to the hormone therapy. Now, estrogen binds to the receptors in the breast cancer, and they stimulate the cell proliferation, and they induce angiogenesis. So they increase the estrogens, they increase the size of the tumor. And here the goal of endocrine therapy is to suppress these tumor promoting effects. That is to block the proliferation and angiogenesis in the tumor by blocking the action of the estrogen. So what is the source of this estrogen in the premenopausal females? The source of estrogen is ovaries. And in the postmenopausal woman, the main source of the estrogen is because ovaries, they don't work after menopause. So the main source of estrogen after menopause is peripheral conversion of the androgens, that is dihydroepiandrosterone to estrogen by enzyme aromatase, which is in the fat cells in the peripheral tissues. So this is by the aromatase enzyme after the menopause. So if you see this diagram, how this estrogen is produced. So in the hypothalamus, luteinizing hormone, releasing hormone is released, which acts on the anti-pituitary. And in the premenopausal females, from the anti-pituitary, luteinizing hormone as well as this FSH, they are released. They act on the ovary, and then estrogen is produced. But in case of postmenopausal females, from the from the anti-pituitary, adrenocorticotrophic hormone is released, which acts on the adrenal. Adrenal produce androgens, and this dihydroepiandrosterone in the peripheral fatty cells, that is converted to estrogen by the action of the aromatase enzyme. And this estrogen, if there is cancer in the breast, so it will promote the proliferation and angiogenesis, so it will increase the size of the tumor in the breast. So how to block the action of the estrogen so that the cancer cells, they do not proliferate and the tumor does not increase in size? So this block can be this we can block the action of the estrogen either at the receptor level. Our second method is that we can block the production of the estrogen. So at the receptor level, we can block the action of the estrogen by selective estrogen receptor modulators. So we can block the action of the estrogen at the receptor level in both in premenopausal as well as postmenopausal females, and this is blocked by these selective estrogen receptor modulators. Whereas in premenopausal females, we can block the production of the estrogen, that is by LH-RH agonists. These are the drugs which act on the anti-pituitary, and there is suppression of the production of the estrogen. So this is also called as medical-oophorectomy. Then second method is that we can remove the ovary surgically, oophorectomy, or we can ablate the ovary by radiations. So these are the three methods of ovarian ablations by which this estrogen production can be blocked. Now in the postmenopausal females, we can use the aromatase inhibitors to block the production of the estrogen. So by this picture, you can try to understand that we can block the production of the estrogen by this LH-RH agonist at the anti-pituitary level, or we can block this aromatase enzymes by aromatase inhibitors, or we can block estrogen at the receptor levels. So there are three methods by which we can block the action of the estrogens over the cancer cells. So coming to the selective estrogen receptor modulators, basically these are the drugs which act at the receptor level and block the action of the estrogen. Now they have selective action at some organs. They are antagonist. In some of the other organs, their action is agonist. For example, and the commonly used drugs are tamoxifen, raloxifene. Tamoxine is commonly used. Now this tamoxifen drug, it acts as an antagonist in the breast, whereas in the bones and uterus, it acts as agonist. So that is why the term is used as selective estrogen receptor modulators, because they have different mechanism and different organs. So when we use tamoxifen, it acts as antagonist in the breast, but at the same time, it acts as agonist in the uterus. So side effect of the tamoxifen is endometrial hyperplasia, endometrial carcinoma, or sometimes thromboembolism. Now these are the LH-RH agonists. These compounds, they act in this anti-pituitary at this LH-RH receptors. So initially they increase the production of the LH and FSH, but due to after the prolonged use of these drugs, there is desensitization of the pituitary. As a result, levels of LH, FSH, they become profoundly suppressed, and so in result there is decreased production of the estrogen and progesterone by the ovaries. So hormone therapy in premenopausal, we can block the estrogen at the receptors. That is, we can block the estrogen at the receptor level. That is selective estrogen receptor modulators, and commonly used drug is tamoxifen. Other method is ovarian function suppression, that is LH-RH agonist. And third is that we can use both the approaches, combination of tamoxifen plus LH-RH agonist. Now, adjuvant endocrine therapy regimens for the premenopausal breasts. Female patient having breast cancer who is premenopausal and estrogen receptor positive, so how to treat with hormone therapy. So one regimen is that tamoxifen 20 milligram daily for 5 years. So various trials, they have established that 20 milligram tamoxifen at least for 5 years has a significant role in preventing the recurrences and increasing the overall survival. And now another regime is that in 2003, International Breast Cancer Study Group started this clinical trials, that is suppression of ovarian function trial, and tamoxifen versus exemestane trial. Exemestane is the aromatase inhibitors. So here they have divided the patients in three groups. One group of the patient is tamoxifen only. Other group of the patients, tamoxifen plus LH-RH agonist. And the third group of the patient is this aromatase inhibitor plus ovarian suppressions. So this trial was started in 2003, and now after 8 years, these drugs were given for 5 years only, but after 8 years, this result was taken in 2017. So these trials show that tamoxifen plus ovarian suppression or aromatase inhibitor plus ovarian suppression, they have better role as compared to tamoxifen alone in premenopausal females. So these are the two methods. Initially, it was only tamoxifen being used, but now this trial has established that the combination of tamoxifen plus ovarian suppression or this aromatase inhibitor plus ovarian suppression is better as compared to tamoxifen alone. Role of surgical fractomy is not done nowadays. It is done only when, say, this BRCA1, BRCA2 mutation is there, because these are the patients who can also have ovarian cancer. So once the patient is having carcinoma of breast, and the patient is BRCA1, BRCA2 mutation positive, then we can go for the oophorectomy, which will serve the purpose of this ovarian suppression, ovarian ovulation, as well as later on there is no risk of getting the ovarian cancer. Now in postmenopausal, in ER/PR receptor positive breast cancer, regimens are aromatase inhibitors for 5 years, or these are equally say good if we give tamoxifen for 2-3 years followed by aromatase for 5 years. And if the aromatase inhibitors they are contraindicated, then we can give this tamoxifen. And the commonly used aromatase inhibitors are anastrozole, letrozole, exemestane. Now, various trials have confirmed that this homogenized monoclonal antibodies, that is trastuzumabs, it improves the overall survival as well as disease-free survival significantly in patient of breast cancer who are HER2 positive. And this can be combined with this chemotherapy or hormone therapy, or even during radiotherapy. And the dose is initially is the loading dose and then maintenance dose for 1 year. Now, treatment of breast cancer is multimodality, means surgery, radiotherapy, chemotherapy, hormone therapy, then this monoclonal antibodies. So, can we combine all these modalities together? Can we see when we are doing surgery, we can start chemotherapy? So, no, this is not possible. Treatment has to be sequential. We cannot combine the chemotherapy with surgery. We cannot combine the chemotherapy with radiotherapy. We can combine this targeted therapy with radiotherapy or hormone therapy or chemotherapy, but we cannot combine the chemotherapy with hormone therapy or radiotherapy with chemotherapy because of the side effects. So, what is the sequence? Sequence in operable breast cancer is surgery, then chemotherapy. That can be combined. We can combine the trastuzumab with chemotherapy. Then after chemotherapy, we give radiotherapy. We can continue the trastuzumab with the radiotherapy, and then after radiotherapy is the hormone therapy. So monoclonal antibodies can be combined with the chemotherapy, radiotherapy, or hormone therapy. But otherwise, sequence is surgery, chemotherapy, radiotherapy, hormone therapy in operable breast cancer. But in case of inoperable breast cancer, sequence is that neoadjuvant chemotherapy followed by surgery and then radiotherapy and hormone therapy. Now coming to breast cancer during pregnancy. So breast cancer during pregnancy, it poses a clinical challenge for the surgeons because diagnosis is usually detected, this disease is detected late because of the breast engorgement during pregnancy. And another problem is that this histological type is usually it is poorly differentiated carcinoma. And this difficulty is that staging is a problem because we cannot use CT scan or MRI with gadolinium is contraindicated during pregnancy. We can do the mammography, but with the shielding of the abdomen, that is the another problem. And how to manage? Here, surgery can be performed in all the trimesters. Chemotherapy cannot be given in first trimester because of that miscarriages and fetal malformations. Therapy is contraindicated during pregnancy. That is why one of the contraindication for BCS, where radiotherapy is mandatory, is early pregnancy. And hormone therapy is not given during pregnancy. So how to manage breast cancer during pregnancy? If patient comes in the first trimester, then what is to be done? So there are two options: either terminate the pregnancy. If patient is not willing, then we can go for the modified radical mastectomy followed by the chemotherapy in the second trimester. So we cannot offer breast conserving surgery in early pregnancy, because for breast conserving surgery, radiotherapy is must. So here we cannot offer BCS. Second trimester, we can do the surgery plus chemotherapy can be given, and radiotherapy and hormone therapy are to be given after delivery. So we cannot use radiotherapy as well as hormone therapy during pregnancy. Surgery can be done in all the trimesters, and chemotherapy cannot be given in the first trimester. In third trimester, surgery, even BCS can be offered, because radiotherapy is to be given can be given after delivery. Then see, this is radiotherapy has to be given within 6 months after surgery. Otherwise, it will happen. Local chances of local recurrence will be more. So here in third trimester, we can give the radiotherapy after 6 months, within 6 months after surgery. But see, if a patient is in second or first trimester, here radiotherapy will be delayed more than 6 months. So that is why MRM is the operation of choice, not BCS. Now, breast cancer in men, it is rare, but still we get the cases of breast cancer in males. And the various risk factors are: age itself is a risk factor, then radiation exposure in the childhood, then this various conditions where there is imbalance between the estrogen and androgens, that is the cirrhosis of liver, vascular diseases, then family history of BRCA1, BRCA2 mutations, genetic conditions. Now, all types of breast cancer, all histological types of breast cancer, they are seen in men, which are seen in females. 90% of the cancer, they are the invasive ductal carcinomas. 80% of the cancers, they are estrogen progesterone receptor positive, and 35% of the cancer, they are HER2 positive. Treatment is the same, multimodality, that means surgery, chemotherapy, radiotherapy, hormone therapy, and if that HER2 positive, then trastuzumab. So that is all for today. Thank you. Any questions, queries? No questions? No queries? So now this cancer breast is complete. Now you can read one little bit about mammography. Mammography we have not covered here. Mammography is screening mammography and diagnostic mammography is used in two ways. One is screening mammography, other is diagnostic mammography. Screening, when we screen the ladies for asymptomatic disease, when there is no symptoms and no lump is there. So that is screening mammography. Another is diagnostic mammography is used when we have diagnosed one lesion, but we want to see the multicentric disease, or if there are symptoms, that is diagnostic mammography. So that is all for this is all for today. No questions? Thank you. Yeah.